What's up, everybody? It's your boy, the Nerdy Norseman, and I got a question for you. Have you ever had a character concept that an RPG rule set couldn't handle? For example, have you ever wanted to make a cryomancer that could create walls of ice protecting the party, or bring down a hailstorm and literally impaling the foes you were dealing with? In this next RPG I'll be reviewing, you can do that. So today we're talking about a free RPG that you can just go to the website right now, read the rules, called Open Legend. Open Legend was created and developed by Brian Finzer right around the time of 4th edition. He read 4th Ed and saw that Wizards had pretty much stripped out everything that made D&D an actual role-playing game, to the point where it became World of Warcraft on paper.
Agreed.
And he wanted to create a system that where you could take any novel or book series you like to read and use this rule set, and you can play in their world. There was no limiting to it. The core mechanic is a dice pool system in which you would roll a d20 plus whatever bonus dice your attribute score would give you. And you could create anything from a puppet master who animates dead corpses using strings, all the way down to Conan the Barbarian, who's really highly trained in martial combat and can decimate anything he pretty much wants. From what I've experienced with the game, as from the DM standpoint, pros is you could tell any story you want. One of the major cons is you have to be able to improv, because the players are going to do stuff that you're not expecting them to do. I brought my lovely wife, Rebecca, here in because she was one of the players of our playtest group, and I'm going to let her give you some of her thoughts on how the game ran and if it was fun or not.
I enjoyed it a lot. It was nice not being limited by a spell sheet. Like, you have this many spells a day, and these are the spells that you have to do, and heaven forbid you want to affect an inanimate object with your spells in the other games, but this one you can actually do that if you give a good reasoning behind it and what you want to see accomplished with that spell. I really enjoyed the D20 system that it runs on, the D20 plus the skill level. It was very easy to understand, very easy to follow. We had new gamers in our group that had no problem picking it up at all. It forces you to use your imagination. You can't look at a spell sheet and go, I'm gonna magic missile. You actually had to sit there and think, okay, well, what spell do I want to use and how is it gonna work? And it could be any spell you wanted. You just had to make it make sense.
Like, your character, I believe, the pre-gen was a shadow dancer.
Yes.
And her main school of magic, because there's schools of magic in Open Legend. There's no spell list, like she said. So it was entropy?
Entropy and movement.
Entropy and movement. So you have a female assassin that can leap into a shadow, pop out in another shadow, and then pretty much drain the life out of you.
Which I did to a poor flying monkey.
Level 1 character.
Popped out, cast Rapid Decay, kind of think Lost Ark style, and popped right back into another shadow, and they had no idea where I was.
One of the things that all of the players around the table enjoyed was exploding dice.
Yes.
You want to break down what exploding dice is?
Exploding dice is when, like, say you're rolling a d20 and a d6, and either one, the d20 or the d6, lands on a 20 or a 6. That dice gets to be re-rolled, and the 6 is in your total. So say it was a 19 and a 6. The 6 exploded. So I'm sitting at 25. I get to re-roll that 6 and say it hit another 4. So now I'm at 29 for my attack instead of the 25.
And how armor and defenses work, they actually are damage mitigation. because all damage is mathematically formed by how much better you roll than their defense. So if a creature or entity you're fighting has, say, a toughness of a 15, and you swing with your maul and hit it over the head and you roll like a 26, you just did 11 damage. That is the other really cool thing about Open Legend. When you roll 10 higher than whatever their defense is, you can invoke what they call a Bane. A perfect example of this would be when your Barbarian rolls 10 higher and he wants to knock down whatever he's hitting. If you roll 10 higher, it just happens. There's no save. He hit that good, he knocked them over and did damage. There's also invoking Banes. Your character did this a bunch of times, didn't she? Where you just put a status effect on them?
Yeah. Oh goodness, this was a week ago, guys, that we played. So give me a moment. Trying to remember what the status effect was that I used. It's been a while.
Was it fatigue?
I think so.
Invoking. Okay. Anyway,
let's go. Yeah.
Invoking a Bane. Instead of foregoing to do damage, instead of wanting to do damage, you can actually just put a Bane on someone if you have the corresponding ability to do so.
I used a boon, not a Bane. It was our other friend who used a Bane. The Barbarian was one using Banes. I used a boon on the creature that I created out of bones. Gave him the extra sharp talons.
That's right.
Yeah, I used the Bane or boon.
So, context of that story, she used entropy and literally took control of one of the things she was fighting. They were fighting undead, and using entropy as a necromancer, she was able to take control of it, dominate it to her will. And she was able to invoke a boon, which is essentially the same as invoking Banes, except they're good things. And you gave it extra damage on its attack rolls?
I gave it 2 attack rolls.
Multi-attack.
Yes.
There's a boon called multi-attack that can be invoked on you. Think if a bard would sing a Song of Inspiration in D&D. Also, there is advantage-disadvantage in the game. Much like 5th edition, advantage works where you take all your dice that you're going to roll in your dice pool and you add an extra die to it depending on what the advantage is. So if you have advantage 1, you add 1 extra die, advantage 2, 2 extra die. You roll them all, you take the highest numbers. Disadvantage works the exact same way.
You just take the lower number. Which my character had one because she was terrified when the other flying monkey screeched in my face, or her face, sorry, to locate her using an echo radar. It actually terrified my character because she's not used to being seen in any way, shape, or form when she's in shadow. And I ended up taking a disadvantage because it freaked her out.
That would be a perfect example of invoking a Bane. That creature essentially invoked fear in her character. Forgo doing damage and just had to roll high enough on the toughness to invoke that effect on her. I believe that was your resolve was a defense. There's three defenses. Toughness, evasion, and resolve. Toughness, withstanding a blow. Cold weather. Evasion, dodging arrows, dodging magic spells.
Matrix.
And resolve, pretty much your strength of will. Be it fear, psychic attack, and they're a stagnant number. So it's whatever they roll, if it beats it, that's how much damage they're doing to you. The other thing, failing forward.
Yeah.
The story always progresses. Every roll matters. So if, for example, a rogue is picking a lock and doesn't succeed perfectly on the roll, you can still have that event take place. And they succeeded in the lock picking, but the goblins behind the door heard it, so they're ready, so they get a surprise round the minute you open the door. Or you can have them lose equipment. your lockpick ring broke. Luckily, you got a barbarian that's able to break down the door. But that's one way it can work. You never get stagnant with the, I'm going to roll continuously until I succeed. That doesn't happen. Open Legend is a game about creating amazing story scenes. It is not a game about mechanics. I know it's going to sound like I'm harping on 5th edition. I'm not trying to. I love 5th edition. But for example, you have a horde of orcs chasing you. You're a mage. You're a cryomancer. You can't deal with this by yourself. You're running down a case of stairs. A staircase. That's the word. And there's no way that you're going to outrun them. Well, in D&D, you can cast Ray of Frost at one of them, and you do 1d10 plus your intelligence modifier and damage. Wow. Or, in Open Legend, you can lay down a shining sleet of ice across those stairs and invoke a Bane, known as Knockdown. And you can knock every one of those orcs down. They fall down the stairs, giving you a chance to get away. Which sounds more interesting? I just do d10 damage to one of them, or they all fell down the stairs and I got out of there and met up with my party, so now I can fight back.
Well, yeah, we had examples of, we had a cryomancer in our group who could not reach the enemy where we were at. We were too far away, and the enemy could reach us, yet it was a more powerful mage than any of us were. So our cryomancer literally built an ice wall in front of us to give us a chance to regroup and continue. He also turned the boneyard we were standing on, where I created my lovely nightmarish fiend. There was more underneath of us and in the water. Or in the sand underneath. So the cryomancer froze the ground, think permafrost. And shortly after that, a few rounds later, our paladin blessed the ice, turning it into holy water, essentially holy ice, killing all the creatures underneath. You could not do that in any other roleplay, at least none that is this advanced. I mean, Savage Worlds has its gives and takes, but as far as Open Legends go, this is the most correctly done, or at least mechanically done, way I've seen it.
I would say it's definitely focuses more on the narrative than the crunch.
Yeah, and I enjoy that. As I used to be in drama and I was in improv and stuff, this is definitely more up my alley than picking a random spell that I happen to still have available.
So, the Kickstarter is up right now. It started October 18th, is going to November 18th. Brian Fincer has stated on the website that the core rules of the game will always be free on the website. The Kickstarter is to fund printing of a hard copy version of the rules and printing a hard copy version of their new campaign setting. And he has some big heavy hitters writing on that campaign setting. Matt Mercer, the GM for Critical Role, he's writing some stuff on the world itself. And the Master of the Forgotten Realms, Elminster himself, Ed Greenwood of D&D 2nd Edition fame, is also doing writing on it. And the world that they're building is essentially, what if a polluted steampunk world found a portal into a jungle realm? Well, we gotta go take it. They got resources, right? And there's no living in peace. So your murder hobos get to go take back this savage land. That's right, I said murder hobos. So, what's your final thoughts on Open Legend?
I can't wait to play it again. Like I said, it was nice not being restricted. I could definitely see playing it in multiple different scenarios and genres. I could definitely see it playing well in like a horror genre too.
And supers.
Yeah.
It'd be great for supers.
Supernatural role-playing games. I think it's a lot of fun. Like I said, not being restricted is probably my absolute favorite thing. Being able to come up with something, and as long as it makes sense with what my character would be able to do with whatever school of magic they're under, and their knowledge in certain things. Like, I mean, you can't say, okay, like my person who was death magic and movement. I'm not gonna be healing anybody. I don't do that. It's not in my thing. So if there's no healer, I can't be like, well, I have magic ability, so I'm gonna attempt this. No, I'm not in that school. It's not something I know anything about, and I'm not going to be able to do it. So, I mean, you do have some minute limitations, but they make sense. You're not trying to go out and do things that you wouldn't normally know how to do. So, other than that, like I said, I would definitely play this again and again.
Personally, I prefer classless systems. Open Legend gives you the tools to build what you want to build. You can make a paladin, very stereotypical paladin that's able to smite evil. Or you can make a fallen paladin that eats the souls of its victims, offering it to its gods. And the rules facilitate that. In a good RPG, the rules should never stifle the narrative. The rules are tools to be used to make that narrative happen. I think Brian Fitzger's hit a home run with this. OpenLegendRPG.com.
Link will be in the description.
Check out the rules. If you like it, go to the Kickstarter. Throw some money at them. Get your own copy. And as always, have fun. Play games. Support your local shop. And I'll talk to you later.